And he says, I didn't have time. And I say, what do you mean you didn't have time? It's like, oh, I just didn't have time to take it. And it's like, that that makes that makes no sense, because all you had to do was to take it and then go. You you had to go make a detour from where the Tupperware was to the fridge and then back to the front door. I mean, it was only, a 2-minute detour, but still like, I told him this. What do you mean you don't have the time? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense at all. It is just taking, oh, stop it. You're accusing me of lying. I'm telling you, I just didn't have time. Didn't have time for lunch. Did you take it with you at the office and then didn't have lunch and so brought it back? I don't know when, because I got back before you. Like, and he just kind of mumbled and make this, and to this day I don't know what he meant. And I was like, oh my god,
Sounds very
what
neurotic.
is this guy? That is very, very strange. Yeah, this
He's
guy.
he sounds like a very chaotic, very messy person that's
Oh yeah,
struggling to manage themselves in their lives and doesn't know. It's they just get lost in their own world, in their own bubble, and they sort of,
absolutely.
just do things. So
Weirdly.
yeah, like they miss things, or they run late for the strangest of reasons, and they just never make any sense.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean,
People who don't know how to be an adult, basically,
oh, exactly,
don't
exactly.
know how to take care of themselves. And
Yeah.
well,
And so, and honestly, I mean, that relationship with the guy, well, that semi relationship with the guy that kind of just ended, I don't really know who's in the wrong or in the right. I think it's just we didn't really work out, because sometimes, you know, that happens. But with this guy,
yeah,
there were so many red flags. And as you said, like, you need to, if something doesn't feel right, then it's cliche, but at that point it was definitely me sticking around because I was, well, so when he cheated and things like that, it was me sticking around because I was afraid to be single.
mm-hmm.
um After that relationship I was single for, I think, 3 years or something. Kind of just like, well, yeah, 3 years. Anyway, it's very, very,
Yeah.
I have no words. So yeah, that's why that relationship ended. And it turns out that I did really well to get out of that relationship. And that friend that I told you about that we had in common, she's doesn't talk to him anymore either.
Yeah, there's no wrong or right. Well, even if there is a wrong or right person in every situation, you can't focus on that, and you can't waste your energy on that. Because you just have to move on and learn what you did and how you can do better for next time, and who is that person, the type of person that you need to avoid, or what type of situations and behavior. You just have to learn and move on and not dwell on certain things,
Mm.
and
But
so
this guy, this kind of relationship ending put me on the path to personal growth and
oh.
like working on myself and things like that. And I had, after my first boyfriend, where we broke up because I was just so young and I realized that I had a lot of, I don't know, I was going to say a lot of ambition, but I don't know that that's fair. But it was just, we were so different. Like, we didn't see our lives the same way at all. And we got together, I was just like just turning 18, and I was 20. And when we broke up, I was 23. There was a lot of bad things going on in that relationship, in the sense of I was like, intimacy was a big issue with our relationship. Like, there were a lot of things where we didn't
Yeah.
really see things the same way. But the reason why we broke up is because I realized that I wanted something different from life and he didn't. He was happy to stay in that place and I wanted to move. And so that's why we broke up. It was later that I realized wow, that relationship was toxic, because it was my first and I didn't have any
Yeah.
comparisons. So after that breakup and kind of realization on the I it kind of threw me on this first part of my journey of like self, like working on myself and developing skills and tools and things like that. And then there was that relationship, and then that threw me in a much like stronger loop of working on myself.
Yeah, which is a great thing. I think it's so important to take a time after a breakup to work on yourself,
Yeah.
regroup, and just recharge and regain energy and work on yourself and learn from what happened and move forward. A lot of times we just see that in between period
Yeah.
as a waiting room for our next relationship, and we just, I call it relationship hopping. We just jump from
Yeah.
one relationship to the other without resting. And so we just lose ourselves in one relationship, and then we lose ourselves even more, and then in another relationship, and we just like, until eventually we don't know who we are anymore. We're dating all the wrong people, and our relationship dictates our feelings, our emotions, what we do, how we feel, our self-worth. And with too overly dependent on a relationship to be happy and to not feel lonely. And so it
Yep.
really is important to learn how to take that time as not just a waiting period for your next relationship, but also as a growing period to develop yourself. And I've overstayed my welcome in a few relationships. You were saying beforehand that you were scared to leave the relationship, and that's what basically happened to me in my last serious relationship, which ended in 2016, I want to say, which is whew, such a long time ago by now. Um, and just a bit of backstory, quick backstory. This person was one of my best friends for a very long time. And I knew that at some point he had a crush on me.
Right.
But I've never felt anything remotely similar to that. Like, I've never been attracted to him. I've never had feelings for him. I've always just seen him as a really good friend, basically in the friend zone. And also, I was always in relationships. I was like always the one with the boyfriend, as I said beforehand. So I was like never really, thinking about it because I've had. But then there was a time between after my second boyfriend where I was finally single again, where he asked me out. And I'm not sure what exactly possessed me to say yes, but I don't know. I think it was a mixture of things. I think first of all, I was very impressed with his bravery and his courage to actually take that plunge and ask me out. And also something in my mind was like, and this is where Hollywood movies reframe the way we think and how they impact us, is I was like, maybe he was under my nose this whole time. Maybe this is what I've been overlooking to see other people and whatever, and it's meant to be him. And I was like, what harm can it do? So I'll go out. And I just feel like it took me down a very long spiral that I couldn't get out of. Because when you just get into it and then it just rolls and uncontrollably, and you sort of, there's no way out. So, I mean, the relationship had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of things that were wrong with it. And I'm not going to get into every single detail. But I, I mean, I did love him, but I don't think I was ever in love with him. I certainly wasn't attracted to him. And it was just a very difficult relationship for him. It was his first serious relationship, so most of our arguments, I felt like I was back at 16 having like those dumb arguments with my first boyfriend. But I didn't want to leave because I was too scared to be on my own, because there's such a bad rep to being single. And I was like 26 coming on to 27, and I was scared of never finding anyone, and I was like worried about the stigma of being single in my 30s. And I was too scared to be on my own. And I was like, well, he really is truly a great guy. He's a sweet boy. He treated me well. He just wasn't right for me. But I was like, what do I need more than that? I convinced myself that I didn't need to be in love. I didn't need to have that head over heel romance that you see in movies, which is true in a way to a certain extent, but you do need to be in love with the person and you do need to have that deeper connection with them. And for me, it just wasn't there. And so, uh, I'm trying to think of what led to the breakup. It was like a various different things. We went. Well, here in Israel, it's common to go on a on a long trip after your army service. So we usually
Right.
go either to Southeast Asia or to South America. Those are the two big destinations. I mean, there's more, but like those are the main two. And I didn't go on a long trip right after the army. I went to be an instructor in a pre-army program that I wanted to do for a very long time. So I did that. And then when we were together, we decided to do the trip. And we went to Southeast Asia. We were supposed to go for 6 months. We lasted 4 months there because it's very difficult to be with each other. And he was getting on my nerves. And he's not the type of person who likes to travel. I basically convinced him to come, which wasn't okay of me. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I was just too scared to go on my own. And it was just, we were talking about, I don't know if it was beforehand or the previous episode, we were talking about like, you said something about like over analyzing everything and over like overly talking about things. And he
Mm.
was having a hard time to take things with a grain of salt and understand that, it's not real life here. Like, we're not going to be 24/7 with each other in real life. So it's fine to have arguments. It's fine to be freaking out about everything, to a point where I just couldn't stand the sight of him in the end. So we came back early and we lasted for, I think, another month or two. I can't even remember, which in that time we weren't intimate at all with each other. And he wanted to go see a psychologist and like a couple therapist. And I was
Yeah.
like, if we need a couple therapist before we even married, and I'm not even in love with you, then this is no. Then just no.
Mm.
And it had to get to that breaking point for me to get over my fear and just walk away. And and oh my God, I was having such bad anxiety as well when I was with him. And and I'm a dreamer. I like to fly, even if I know certain things aren't plausible. I like to dream big. And he was very realistic. And every time that I would fly, he would cut off my wings. And I was like very frustrated. So then I sort of just cut it out. And like you said beforehand, suddenly when we broke up, people were starting to tell me, yeah, he wasn't right for you. We didn't like this about him. We didn't like that. And I'm like, where were you when we were
Yeah.
together? No, but we have to make that decision for ourselves. And I think a lot of times it's not in other people's place to tell us what to do.
I agree. There's I think now being 30, 32 tomorrow. um I'm realizing like I don't need my friends and family's opinion on my boyfriend. Like, I just don't need it anymore. I I know that if my father disliked JT, I wouldn't really care because I'm at that point where I know what JT is like, which
Yeah.
would have been different for my ex. That so his name is Jan. That I was telling you, like, because I was already feeling certain things about him, and I just anyway, very strange. Just yeah, I don't. You want to let go of what your friends and family think, but you want to also be honest about your like. It's finding that balance about what can you say, and all of this to say that I have a friend. I may have talked to her about her already and her relationship with her boyfriend, where I'm just like, I don't understand what they're doing together anymore. She's just terrified of being alone. I think she finds him very attractive and she's not so confident in her own looks, and so she's feeling that she wants to stay with him because of that. Anyway.